In this video, we will be discussing about Ohm's law. Before we begin, let's just see a very practical example. Imagine there are two beakers as per the figure. In the first case, the speed of the water flow will be very high because the height difference of the water level is more. That means the potential difference is more. In the second case, height difference is less comparatively. That means potential difference is also less. Speed of the water flow will be less in second figure. So if you can look at both these cases, this is the first case. So in these two cases, in the first beaker, you can see water is filled till the rim of the beaker. So if this beaker is emptied, then the water will move with high force and the water will move with a lot of speed because they are filled till the rim. That means there is high potential difference. There's a lot of height difference. So this is high potential and this is low potential. So the potential difference is more. That is why there is high speed of water flow. But if you look at the second case, in this beaker, the water is not filled till the rim. It's almost about 3/4 filled. So if you try to empty this beaker, then you will not see much speed in the flow of water because the potential difference is less in the second figure. So, in the very similar way, if we have an electric circuit like in the given figure, so this is the given figure, even if we have an electric circuit, then and if we start measuring current with changing the number of cells, that means we are changing the potential difference, more specifically doubling, tripling, quadrupling the potential difference. In each case, then we could find current to be also getting doubled, tripled, quadrupled with respective addition of the voltage source, that is the cells. Now if we take a circuit like this and if we start measuring the current by changing the number of cells, so first you put one cell, then two cells, then three, then four, like that, if you change the potential difference, you will observe even the current that is recorded in the ammeter will be changing. Like if you double, triple and quadruple the potential difference, even the current will be doubled, tripled and quadrupled with respect to the addition of the cells. So if you could do this, that is, we will get a graph like this on the right hand side. If we are plotting the values obtained for current on changing potential difference. So in this experiment, we will find that approximately the same value for V by I is obtained in each case. Thus, the VI graph is a straight line that passes through the origin of the graph as shown in the figure. Thus, V by I is a constant ratio. So from this graphical representation, we are able to explain Ohm's law. So it is very similar. So as we increase or double, triple or quadruple the potential difference, even the current is doubling, tripling and quadrupling. So depending on this, if we plot a graph, we can see as the current increases or as the potential difference increases, so as we are increasing the potential difference, even the current is increasing. So it is a straight line that is passing through the origin. We find the same value approximately for V by I. So the VI is a straight line passing through the origin. So it's a constant ratio. So from this particular graphical representation, we can explain Ohm's law. So Ohm's law states that the potential difference V across the ends of a given metallic wire in an electric circuit is directly proportional to the current flowing through it, provided its temperature remains the same. So basically, the potential difference across the ends of a metallic wire in a particular electric circuit is directly proportional to the current flowing through it. And the main feature that should be present is temperature is constant. That means it is remaining the same. So in that situation, the potential difference V is directly proportional to the current. That means if the potential difference increases, then the current also increases. So that is what the Ohm's law states. So, in 1827, a German physicist, George Simon Ohm, who lived from 1787 to 1854, found out this relationship between the current I flowing in a metallic wire and the potential difference across its terminals. So, he is George Ohm and he found out this relation between this V and I. And then he stated by taking V and current that he stated that V is proportional to I. That is, if V increases, I also increases. It's directly proportional. That means if you remove this proportionality constant and write is equal to, you will introduce a constant called R. So V is equal to IR. This R is a constant. So the Ohm's law is basically V is equal to IR. So, R is a constant for the given metallic wire at a given temperature and is called its resistance. So, this R is a constant and it's called resistance. It is a property of a conductor to resist the flow of charges through it. The SI unit is ohm, represented by a Greek letter. So, this is the Greek letter. And according to Ohm's law, R is equal to V by I, or V is equal to IR. So, basically, let it be any conductor. So it will have the property to resist the flow of charges, and that property is called resistance. So the SI unit of resistance is ohm and it is represented by a Greek letter. So this is the Greek letter, and according to Ohm's law, R is equal to V by I, or V is equal to IR. Now what is 1 ohm? If the potential difference across the two ends of a conductor is 1V and the current through it is 1A, then the resistance R of the conductor is 1 ohm. That is, 1 ohm is equal to 1 volt by 1 ampere, and also from this equation we get V by R is equal to I. So basically, what is this 1 ohm? So 1 ohm is nothing but, so if the potential difference between the two ends of a conductor is 1 volt, so there are 2 points A and B and the potential difference between these two is 1 volt and the current is 1 ampere, then the resistance of that particular conductor is called 1 ohm. So that is why 1 ohm is equal to 1 volt by 1 ampere. From this equation also we get I is equal to V by R. It is obvious from the above equation that the current through a resistor is inversely proportional to its resistance. So it is very obvious, that is I is equal to V by R. That means I is inversely proportional to resistance. As the resistance increases, current flow will decrease. As the current flow will increase, resistance decrease. It's inversely proportional. So, in an electric circuit, a device called rheostat is often used to change the resistance in the circuit. So, basically, if we want to have a constant resistance, then we need not require a rheostat. But in case if we want to change the resistance now and then in a particular electric circuit, then we use a device called rheostat that is used to change the resistance. Variable resistances can be recorded. Now just look at this particular thing and we'll do a silly activity which is very interesting. We will now study about electrical resistance of a conductor with the help of the following activity. Now let us see what's electrical resistance of a particular conductor by doing this activity. Now on the left hand side we have an electrical circuit and connect XY terminals with the following components one at a time. First one is a nichrome wire, second is a 10-watt bulb, and the third is a torch bulb. So now between the terminals of this X and Y, we need to connect this wire. First we have to connect nichrome wire, then see what is the current, then remove it, then 10-watt bulb, see the current, remove it, and then the torch bulb. Then again see and remove. So we have to place one at a time. Now on recording the ammeter readings for each connection, we will obtain a conclusion that the current is different for different components. So the basic criteria that is observed here is, whenever you put a nichrome wire and observe the current, you will get one value, that is one current value. If you put a 10-watt bulb, you will get another value. If you put a torch bulb, you will get another value. So based on this experiment, we can say that current is different for different components. Different components will draw different amounts of current. So, why do they differ? Why are they differing in drawing different currents? So, certain components offer an easy path for the flow of electric current while the others resist the flow. So, a component of a given size that offers a low resistance is a good conductor. A conductor having some appreciable resistance is called a resistor. A component of identical size that offers a high resistance is a poor conductor. And an insulator of the same size offers even higher resistance. So basically, some components will allow current to pass through them very easily, while some will not allow. They will resist. So the components of a given size that has low resistance is a good conductor, because low resistance means it will allow more current. So it is a good conductor, because conductors are usually the ones which conduct electricity very well. Now, if the conductor is having some appreciable resistance, that means not too high and not too low, then it is called a resistor. And just imagine there is another thing which has high resistance. It is a poor conductor, because it's having high resistance. That means it doesn't allow much current to pass through it. But just consider the example of an insulator which has higher resistance. That means it is a very, very bad conductor of electricity, because it has so much resistance. So, the electrical conductors like silver, gold, copper, steel, and seawater will have low resistance, and that is why they allow more current to pass through them. Hence, they are good conductors. While if you can observe this rubber, glass, oil, diamond, and dry wood, they are insulators because they have high resistance and they don't allow electricity to pass through them very easily. And that is why they are bad conductors of electricity. Thank you.